Hello, my name is Karen Talamelli Cusick. I'm the Executive Vice President of ImpactWayv. Welcome to the Impact Sound Wave series featuring Doug Woodring, founder of Ocean Recovery Alliance. ImpactWayv is a social media impact platform designed to be a healthier and more meaningful alternative to existing social media. Today, Doug is here to speak about the Water Rising Festival in Cambodia. Hey, Doug, nice to have you here.
Hi, Karen. How are you? Nice to see you again.
Great. You too.
Yeah. So I'm excited to be able to tell you about this event. We just started it last weekend, and it's going through this coming weekend. The Water Rising Festival. What is that? Well, in Cambodia, we started this 4 years ago, and it's because the Tonle Sap Lake in Cambodia, which is Southeast Asia's biggest inland body of water. It's effectively Cambodia's ocean, rises and falls 6 meters every year, every 6 months. So it's like a 6-month tide out, a 6-month tide in. And a lot of the houses on the lake are floating houses. They move them around as the water goes down, and they also are on stilts inland, but they're really literally 6 meters above the ground because part of the year the water's right at their living room. So what happens, in fact, if you look at this map, there's a body of water there. Dark blue is the low water mark, and the light blue is the high water mark. In fact, this lake actually increases its size up to 15 times each season, 15 times its size, because it's so shallow. So the 6 meters spread over shallow land means that the lake size actually becomes 12 to 15 times bigger in that season. And when the tide goes out, pulls all the plastic, unfortunately, from the villages and the litter out into the lake, into the bushes, into the trees. And when it rises, which is starting now through November, the water's coming up. It's like a big monster pushing that plastic right back into up the canal and back into the village. So we use this analogy almost like a mysterious person pulling things out and pushing them back in, and you don't want to get polluted. But we've done some really great things there. We started this with the monks and the fishermen and the village chiefs 4 years ago, without publicity, without any government knowledge, without any help at all, myself and then my partner in Cambodia. And we worked individually to gain support from the monks, which, as you know, in many parts of Asia, Buddhism is extremely strong, powerful, and important religion in terms of communicating with people. And when a monk tells you you will have bad karma from polluting the water, people tend to believe that, which is a very, very powerful, great, nice thing in the case of what we're trying to do. So within an hour, we had the monks up on a riverbank picking the plastic out of the bushes with the big bamboo poles at sunset with their orange robes on, because they just loved this story. And all the boats that came by started stopping, wondering, why is the monk on that riverbank doing what with that pole? It looks like he's getting plastic out of the tree. And in fact, that's exactly what he was doing. And it just got people asking questions. And so that year we had our first festival with 3 villages, engaged about 3,500 people. We had high school girls were our main leaders, if you want to call them that, the eco ambassadors. And we had many, many children and adults and fishermen. The fishermen all used, supported with their boats. And so we do this every 6 months. And it's when the water rises and falls. And we're now going to different villages. So there's 180 villages around the Tonle Sap Lake. Part of that lake is a UNESCO heritage site for birds and wildlife. Of course, this was the water system that fed and which Angkor Wat was all designed around, which if you've not been there, it's probably one of the most spectacular ruins of previous society in the world to go visit. It's
Wow.
absolutely amazing, and it's all designed architecturally around water, and the features of the whole city, which is tens of kilometers in size square. You can't do it by walking. You need a car or a scooter or motorbike. This is where the society came from and thrived on, was the water. And so what we're trying to do is bring pride back to the water, bring pride to the outdoors. Unfortunately, like many countries, the waste management funds and finances and infrastructure is not deployed or isn't existing in remote areas. So there's no trucks to pick things up. There's no bins for people to throw their garbage away. They typically dump it or burn it. And burning is actually one of the worst, because the World Bank estimates that up to 40% of the world's waste is just burned in the front or backyard at nighttime. And that takes all the toxins from the plastic right into the air, which then get rained into the next river, lake, water system, rice paddy, community. And that is where we're getting a lot of our toxins, is from the burning. It also creates respiratory problems, and it also creates issues with carbon black, which is one of the biggest things for global warming, because the carbon soot actually absorbs the heat in the sky. And so what the ocean world and plastic never really talks about is the burning of waste. We talk about what goes in the river and what goes in the ocean, but we really need to not burn things. Of course, when you burn it, then it's gone. That doesn't mean it is done in the right way. But when it's gone, you don't feel the pain of dirty water as much, and polluted land, and bad tourism. So it's a false sense of success. It's a false sense of hope. And the other people who are out there trying to do garbage and waste collection, recycling, and prevention and education don't see it. So imagine if 40%, which is now being burned, all of a sudden wasn't being burned, and it's on our front yard and in our water. The story of the plastic pollution today would be much, 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 much bigger than it even is. But that does not mean we should be burning it. Absolutely should not be. So what we're trying to do is inspire different thinking about collection. How can people feel proud about their neighborhood, even though the trucks don't come all the time for waste recovery? Don't burn it, and don't get it in the water, because when you put it in the water, then the boats and all the propellers, when they're going out for fishing or tourism, get caught. These are long-tail boats. The propellers are open. Every single boat that goes out has a hacksaw on it. Why does a boat have a hacksaw? Here we are, probably going fishing and showing tourism. It's because the fishing lines, the fishing nets, and the plastic waste gets wrapped around the long-tail net every single time they go out. Sometimes they have to jump in the water. Luckily, there's no alligators there, but they do have to go in and cut it off and get back in the boat. Waste of time, waste of resources, not good for the environment. So we're trying to get people to think about that. We created a new bag last year, which looks like a rice bag. It is a rice bag, but we branded it. It says Harvest Plastic. It's got really cool decoration. It's in English and Khmer, and it explains to people to put all your plastic only in the bags, not your other garbage, and certainly not your food waste. Because the food waste, when you mix that with other recyclables, you cannot clean it, and then nothing is valuable at all. No one wants to get their hands dirty, and no one's going to sort it. These are not our rice bags, but these are the sizes of the ones that we made. So we gave ours to the village houses, and when they fill them up with their own household waste, in fact, we have two bags now, a green and brown. The green bag is for their household waste of only plastic. Again, not organic, not paper, metal. And that's clean, and it's pretty dry, and it's very lightweight. And when this is brought into the pagoda or into the village, then we give them food baskets. And this was extremely powerful and valuable during COVID because people couldn't go out, couldn't go shopping, remote villages. At least they got some kind of reward and benefit from doing this type of new collection. When the government saw us do this, the local government, they mandated it actually in many of these villages. So I was going on to say there's 180 of these villages around the lake. We're trying to impact at least 20 of them within 4 years. We got slowed down by COVID. We're now in 5 or 6, but with a bit more funding and support, we can do 20 certainly within 4 years, and even beyond that, we can do 40 or 50. The government now loves us. We're now supported by the federal government, not by money, but endorsing what we're doing from the Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Tourism. And they've now put our event, the Water Falling and the Water Rising Festivals, into their Clean Cambodia Day, which they only started themselves 3 years ago. It's every November 23rd. And that's the timing that we do our Water Falling Festival. That's when the water goes back, starts receding again. So we've already been in a few villages this week, and we've got more coming this weekend. We've already engaged something like 2,000 people, 2,500. As you can see, we have support from the local governments, the kids, the high schools, fishermen, and all of this plastic will go into storage because we're working on another pretty amazing circular solution for this material, the material particularly that which never gets recycled. So if you put the material in the bags, all the good things can get pulled out and recovered because now they don't have food waste in them. That's things like the plastic bottles and your detergent bottles and things. But all the other stuff that will never normally get recycled can go into synthetic aggregate, which is for concrete and the construction industry. Very new product and new opportunity for mixed dirty plastic to make a valuable long-term asset for any community. And that can, in this case, is housing. So we'll already be working with Habitat for Humanity. They've already been doing these projects just in the last year or two in Central America. We're going to be doing that in Cambodia. So the material these communities collect can now go into housing, maybe not their own because they live on a floating home or a stilted home, but a home nearby or in that community of Cambodia, which was a really, really great story. And so that when people often ask, where does your material go? The main thing to remember is getting it out of the environment, out of the water in a controlled space so it does not get burned and it doesn't get into the water. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is then figuring out how to prevent it, how to recycle what you can, how to repurpose what you can. So the Water Falling Festival, Water Rising Festival, maybe some of you can visit us, join us, volunteer in Cambodia in November. That'll be our next one. But we certainly need funds to keep this running. We don't need a huge amount of money, even $10,000, $20,000 in a season makes a big impact. And we can do a lot with not much because it's doesn't cost a lot of things for the material and equipment and food and transportation to move people around and do these great things. So thank you for the chance to talk, and hopefully we'll get to see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks so much, Doug. Those stories are so inspiring. You've been doing this, but it gives hope, and we will share these stories on Impact on our social media for more information and photos and stories about the Water Rising Festival. Thanks so much, Doug.
Thank you, Karen.
Join us next time.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.